Aloha, everyone. This is All Intuitive Conversation, and I am Felicia Miller Johnson. Aloha, everyone. Happy New Year. So, this is the first episode in 2022, and I am excited to be connecting with Arnitha Webb today. And so, we're going to talk about this little story that she manifested to this episode because she was not scheduled until like March, but yet here she is. So, aloha, Arnitha.
Hi, how
How
are
are
you?
you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So, yes. Okay. So, let's start with this initial story about how you were scheduled. Was it March? I think in March to appear
Yeah.
on the show. And I'm gonna let you share. So what did you do? What did you manifest?
So I decided that in this back in December, usually in December, I treat December like a hiatus month. It's sort of the month that I don't book anything, I don't schedule anything. It's my me time, whatever it is that I want to do to fill my cup wherever I want to go and however I want to spend it. That's my hiatus month. But this last December, I decided to open up my calendar for 22 one-on-one coaching
Mhm,
opportunities for people.
mhm,
First time I've ever done that. And
mhm,
it sort of laid the thing for me to continue doing some things that I've never done, like doing some first, doing some things, just do some things differently.
mhm.
They say you want different results, you do something different.
Right.
Right.
Definition of crazy is doing the
Oh,
same things, thinking you're gonna get the same.
so- right.
Right.
So, so we, so I decided, I said, okay, I need to speak to um more people, but the right people. I'm
Mm,
not interested in just, oh, you got a lot of friends, you got a lot of followers, you got a lot of likes just for the sake of, oh, that's a great number. I really like connections. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so I said, that's what I'm really going to focus on. I'm going to focus on um just opening myself up more because and on the one hand, I call myself an extrovert, but I'm very introverted. So
Mm.
how does that make sense, right? It just
It makes
it
sense. I get it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm an extroverted introvert, whatever. So I said, but I'm going to open up myself so that the right people can come into my space. Like I just want to just be open to the universe to
Mhm,
so, it can happen, right?
mhm,
I'm not trying to force it. I'm just open to it, right? So
mhm,
I just opened myself up. And I said, and that's going to be something that I'm going to do my best to be mindful of in 2022, to be mindful of being open to that which is supposed to come and connect with me. And so I was
mhm.
having a conversation. I saw you, and I love the fact that it wasn't a mapped out conversation.
Yeah. Mhm,
I like organic connections, and that's what attracted me to you. And so we had our calendar for March or whatever.
mhm,
And the day that you reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you like to move it up to January 4th?" Within that hour, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I said, I need to talk to, I need this to happen like the first week of the year.
yes.
And it's scheduled like weeks away, but I really need this conversation to happen the first week of the year. And she so she was like, "Yeah, but it'll give you more time to think about it, to this." And I was like, "I don't need to think about it. I
Yes.
don't need to think about it. I just want to have this conversation the first week of the year." Within an hour, I got your message.
Yes.
And I was
Yes.
just like, I just said I needed this to happen.
And I love that because the connection was the person that was, booked for this time. I think they had an assistant kind of arranging things for them. And we had been talking about this date the whole entire time. And then it was like they had gotten confused with like another, date. And they were like, "Oh, we're not able to make that date." And this is where the growth and the transformation for me. I was like, okay, there's no sense of rushing whoever is supposed to speak on that day is supposed to speak on that day. And so then it became because this is genuine, you guys. I do not research. I do not like connect to do all of this stuff on the guest ahead of time. So you were in the live audience on the show last week, and I even asked the guest afterwards. I was like, do you know Arnitha?" And she was like, "No," because it didn't register to me that that was you as a future guest because that's like all the way in March. So it was just not even there. And so then when I looked at, I was, looking at the schedule with the opening and I was like, "Oh, that's," I said, "Oh, she's scheduled to be a guest on the show." And so since you were on this show that day live, I was just like, got the message. Emmanuel said, "Ask her." And I was like, "Okay, hey, are you interested in coming on the 4th instead?" And so this is how I know that the spirit team, when they talk, it didn't even flinch when you said, "Yes, I had just manifested." And I simply said, "Of course you did. This is your day."
And that was our dialogue.
That
That
was
was
it.
our dialogue. It was like, yes, I just manifested. And you was like, yep, of course. And
Of
I'm,
course you
yep,
did. Yeah, I'm
yep,
here. But see,
yep,
that's the thing about the connection is that when we put these messages out there, it's like people are listening and hearing. And so then when it
yeah,
happens, it's like there's this surprise, but that's why I really said, "Of course you did." Like
yeah,
that's what you
yeah,
wanted. That's what you spoke. So
yeah,
when it happens, of course it was supposed to
of
happen
course.
because you put that out there. So with that, what was it that made you say you needed to have this conversation the first week in January? Like where were you at to say that?
Be- because I had made the decision that this was going to be a year of a lot of firsts for me.
Okay.
And when I say I open myself up for, the right people, the right opportunities, the right things, um, I have an expectation when I, when I made that decision. That means I'm
Mm,
also expecting. I'm expecting, you know,
mhm,
and if it's aligned, it's gonna happen. You know what I
mm,
mean? It's gonna happen.
mhm,
So the again, what attracted me to you was that it was a format that was organic. Because I find that when I try to fit in some kind of box or framework, that's when struggle starts happening sometimes with me.
yes.
Um, but when things happen organically, and even when I'm working with clients, I have to let things happen organically. So sometimes where we start is not where we end, you know,
Shouldn't
because
be. Well,
and
should is a struggle word. It's like that would be, did we really go anywhere?
yeah, but I mean, like we sometimes we get on a whole nother street.
Mm, yeah.
You know, we get on
Hmm.
a whole nother street. Someone come to me and it's like, oh, I want to start this kind of business and it's this and it's this and it's this. And a couple of weeks down the road, it's like, I thought I wanted to do that, but I don't.
Mm,
But I don't really want to do that. After talking with you now for a few, I don't really want to do that. I thought, it made sense because they're just kind of looking at it, it sounds good. Maybe something was put in front of them and it looks like a great way to go.
Mhm.
They're what I call following someone else's path, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
Um, and but when they kind of like take a step back and really go inside and look at what they really want, not what sounds good, not what makes mom happy, not what makes hubby happy, not what makes everybody else happy, but just really go inside, a lot of times they shift and
Mm.
go, no, this is really what I want to do. This would really make me happy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I mean when I say sometimes we start out somewhere and then, we end up somewhere else. But that's only because to me, when you allow situations to happen organically, you end up where you're really supposed to be.
Yes.
And that's what attracted me to your format, that you say up front that you're providing a forum, but what happens in it is not pre-planned.
Yeah.
And so
Mm-mm.
for me, after I made the decision that this year is going to be a year of a lot of firsts, this was the conversation I wanted to have week one.
Mm. Okay. So I'm loving that, that you and that this opportunity created itself for you and that we're co-creating it together. Because yeah, for myself of having this show and just doing it, that's part of the reason what the whole meaning about all is. All means respect, wonder, and fear. And it's those things of a feeling of awe. It's like you're amazed and you're attracted to drawn to it, but there's something that's a little uncomfortable that people can kind of fear. And a lot of times people fear this type of,
Yeah.
wait, we're not going to plan exactly what we're going to say or the bullet
Right.
points and this and this. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I'm
Yeah.
not looking at your whole profile, your resume, or anything of that sort, because it's like I'm going to be present with you in this moment. Because even if we were to do all that planning 2 weeks ago, my hope is that you're not even going to necessarily be that same person that you were 2 weeks ago, which is very much connected to what you're just saying. Like, oh yeah, I want to do this, and then you get
Yeah.
more into it, and you're like, that's not really what I wanted to talk about.
Mhm.
And it's like I just thrive in just being in this moment
Mhm.
with people, and that was the
Mhm.
format that I wanted to have. I just wanted to have a intuitive, all intuitive conversation
Mhm.
with people and just being with them. So I'm so glad that you did
Mhm.
that. So
Mhm.
you've mentioned coaching. So tell me, what is it that you do?
Yeah. Yeah. I say yeah like that because coaching is such a darn buzzword these days. It's crazy, and I'm like I'm not really doing anything different I was doing before. I just wasn't called a coach. Okay,
Mm,
whatever.
right, right. That question, how long you been coaching? I'm like, the title or
The time, right? Like which one? Like what? Okay, because yeah, you look at people need a framework, right? People
Mm,
need to call you something. Uh, but
mhm,
if I can describe it just in my own words without looking at a title, um, I would say most of all, I help people to hit their goals, hit
mm,
their goals in business. That's what I help people do. Now, one client's goal can be different from the next client, but it's usually business strategies, it's usually setting up their online systems, is getting into their workflow and helping them to be more productive. um you know that's kind of like through the three primary areas where the nitty gritty work is done.
mhm,
um but before we even get to that, it's usually um why, like, you're doing this business, why, or you want to open this business, why, like is it going to, if you start something today, 5 years down the road, is it really what you wanted? You
mm,
know what I mean? Like, did you just create another job? You want to leave your job, but you created another job that you're kind of chained to. you know so
mm,
if we're going to create something, let's create what you really want. Let's
Yes.
create what's going to put you inside of that dream that you have. Like, forget what anybody else says. What is it that you, when you wake up in the morning, where do you want to be? What do you want to see? What do you want to smell? What environment do you want?
Yes.
What do you really want to do in your activities during the day? What brings you the most joy? Like, let's create something that will put you inside of that.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
that's the thing. And believe it or not, I don't even know how to package that. But that's
Hmm.
what it comes down to, when I'm working with someone. That's usually always what it comes down to. A person will come to me, like even with the coaching sessions that I did in December. Was
Mhm.
different people had different issues. Okay, fine, we're strategizing. You're on this platform. Are you spending X amount of dollars with your overhead? Like, we're strategizing a lot of things, but eventually what the conversation comes down to, and this is probably why I was drawn to you, is you may come with this problem, but it comes down to, if we're going to fix this problem, let's fix it in a way where you're going to get to that life that you really want to live.
Mm. Gotcha.
Let's not let's not just put band-aids on things, you know.
On a
Um
gunshot wound.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just gonna be another problem in 6 months or a year or what have you, when you're just approaching things like that. So let's take a step back, and it's like, okay, that's an easy fix. We can move your systems to this platform. We can do that. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what's
But it's
really behind that?
what how'd you get here in the first place?
Yes, because that's so true, Arnita, and that when people come to you and they think it's one thing, right? I need to fix this. And it's like I literally just had a session this weekend with a group of ladies. And the thing about giving intuitive feedback and working with individuals is that when you open yourself up and you're ready for this divine message, they're going to take this opportunity like, okay, yes. But what you may be thinking is the message that you're wanting is like really they're going to give you some more feedback like okay take that behind that like that's what you think the problem is but you really going to have to deal with this first in order to get to that because
Right.
that's really not a problem. It's this
Right.
thing that's underneath it behind the situation is what's causing the hiccup,
That's
the
it.
discomfort, the dis-ease. And it's not always what you think you're going to hear but they're going to give you what you need in that
Yeah.
moment. And
Yeah.
that's the ability because sometimes like I said you want to like people like oh yeah here's your solution this and I'm like I'm not here to fix anybody whatsoever because that's when you're finding out because you use the word I want to explore a little bit more about like how do you package that. And that's something where I was as well. It was like but what are people coming to me for, like what is it that you're drawing them in and what is it that I do in order to be able to help, serve. Because I realized that having 6, 7 month packages and having to connect with people every day wasn't what people really were coming to me for. I noticed that I asked for guidance of saying, okay, well, what is it? I said, people can have this one conversation with me and then they're good. They're like, I got what I needed and
Yeah.
they go forth. But at first, I
Yeah.
was like, well, what is you're supposed to have these clients? They're supposed to come to you every week and do, for 6 months, and it was like that's not serving me, that's not serving them. They got what they needed, but it's like, how do you
That's someone else's framework.
exactly? And so it's like that's not how I'm built. That's not how I'm supposed to
Yeah.
serve.
Yeah.
And so I say that to say for you when you say talking about your package, tell me more about that
Well,
when you're saying how do
it's
you
so
package.
yeah, because in the I guess traditional sense, yeah, I don't know how to package that. But what happens in my life, as I'm going through my day to day, is the people. It's so funny. I used to say this years
Mhm.
ago. I ain't for everybody. I'm not here for everybody. I used to walk in. I used to walk into like a corporate building, like I'm going to train somebody, and I would go, I ain't here for everybody. I'm only here for the people that's gonna make it into my room.
Girl, like I said, I got the message. This is start shuffling cards, and so the card that immediately flipped over was trigger statement. No one understands me. Keep going.
Okay, but
Mhm.
I always believe that, and I used to feel this way when I used to do I had a program back in New York, the life planning program. And I
Mhm.
used to believe wholeheartedly whoever was in the room, whoever made it in the room with me, those were the people who were truly meant to be there.
Mhm.
Like, and it was going to be life changing for them because they were in the room, right? So I say I don't know how to package it, but what happens in my day-to-day life is that the people who are meant to be my clients always make it to me, you
Mhm.
know? And I am open for, they can book on my calendar. I'm open for when they need, you know? Because sometimes it is a single conversation and they, you know, can kind of go their way, you know.
Mhm.
If they want to come back 2 weeks later, book again,
Right.
make another appointment or whatever. Not a
Mhm.
problem. Not a problem. Um, one of it's funny though, I did have a client, this one particular client last year, she was a 6-month client. And we were setting up her business. We were planning her move outside of the country, because I have a program. RYL abroad is being able to move outside of the U.S. without money worries.
Oh.
Yeah, and so um, we ended up. So setting up her business and what have you, planning out all the logistics of her move outside of the US. She's a single mom. And, but I would say probably about 3, 4 months in, she was like, can we shift our focus? And I'm like,
Mhm.
of course, right? Of course.
Mhm.
And we ended up going totally into the realm of homeschooling.
Hmm.
And she's like, I want to use the time that I have left with you. Like she had paid for 6 months. She says, I want to use the rest of my dates strictly for, my daughter, strictly for planning out how to educate her differently. I'm not satisfied with how she's being educated. I'm a licensed teacher. I'm just not a classroom teacher, but I'm an educator also. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm like, absolutely. So she decided to use, like her last 5 sessions strictly on me helping her map out her daughter's educational career, you know,
Mm.
all the way through from elementary to college, you know.
Mhm.
So it's I like to meet people where they are, you know. So
Uh-huh.
when I say it's hard to package because I'm not just an education consultant. It's just something I have been paid to do and can do. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not just a digital strategist, but I got over a decade in tech. You know what I mean? It's
Huh.
like so under the umbrella of what I call my consulting coaching, it's really about helping my clients hit their goals, whatever that goal is. If it's in business, that's what we're focusing on. If it's that move outside of the US, that's what we're focusing on. If it's, I have kids and I'm concerned with, their education and whatever, then yes, I can wear that hat as well. So it's sort of it's really holistic. And that's why for me it's simple. I just focus on how to get you to live inside that dream you had, that dream life. Okay?
Mm.
You want this work-life balance. You need this work-life balance. You may want to shift to certain things. I just want to help you live that life that At night when you're in the bed and you're daydreaming, you know, like how
Right.
to get there, that's my zen. That's my happy space.
Yes. Okay. Um, so immediately while you were like I said again, talking, um, like there were some cards that kind of came out. I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have these sit here because I'm not really sure if they were for you or who they could potentially be for. And so then I got the message about this childhood and this whole teacher in the classroom. And I was like, okay, so this is like more of the statements of where, you know, how, like we were talking about finding things about who our clients is and what they may be experiencing, what they may be saying, of how they can package this. So these are some potential things that you could be saying to your clients and reaching them of what they're experiencing. One was, why did this happen to me? Is a trigger statement for them. Another one is, I am all in my head. Three, I will never change.
Mm,
And then four was, I don't know where to start.
mhm,
And so these things are then connected with helping, encouraging them, and helping them to detoxify things from their life. Like you're coming alongside them because it was prosperity and nourishment, but it wasn't necessarily about them, but it was about the pictures for me. And that here was the woman alongside the other woman being helping her to be able to laugh at her future, be like, hey, this is how you do these things to be able to help satisfy your body and everything and taking care of yourself. But then this one, the message with the picture with her sitting back there in the back seat means that someone else is driving, and in a way that they are still in control of their life, that they are still managing their things, but you're there also to help support them. Because people talk
mhm.
about, they complain about a backseat driver, like, oh, one of those things, but when
Uh-huh.
you have, when you have that person that can
Mhm,
help you, be like, oh, I've been here before, and all those different things, like
mhm,
that's kind of the sense of like where you're coming from. Like, look, I know where I'm going. Like,
mhm,
here's the insight. This is where I want to go. Kind of
mhm,
thing. So it's like, yeah, that those are, consider those as phrases of what the women that, or the men, whomever your clients are, that you are connecting with, because those are some of the things that they're seeking help for. Of
mhm,
like where they're going to be, triggers
mhm,
for them. Why did this
mhm,
happen to me? I'm all in my head about this. I'm not really sure. I will never change. And
mhm,
then I don't know where to start. And this
mhm,
one is standing out. Definitely, I don't know where to start, because it sounds like what you're saying is that you have an array of skills and abilities that can come and help people from wherever, like I said,
mhm,
technology, this or that. But it's
mhm,
like, how do you communicate? How do you, reach them without
mhm.
all the struggle?
Yeah, yeah,
Without all the struggle. Like
yeah,
it doesn't have to be struggles. Like these women, they are cool, they are laid back.
yeah.
They're just gonna come, have,
Mhm,
laughing at the
mhm,
future days to come.
mhm,
Um, with that. So
mhm,
yeah, it's like you're
mhm,
you're on the right path. But
mhm.
let me ask you, do you, because based off of that, do you have a follow-up question or thought of what you may want to know?
Mm. Well, I know usually how it happens with the people who come into my circle.
Mhm.
It's usually by way. It's sort of like the example I gave with the woman who said, "This is how I want to use, my last 5 sessions." They make the shift. I don't make the shift. They see a shift needs to be made in that we can go into other areas. She and that's usually how it happens, where someone will be referred to me, will come to me because of usually in the technical area of their business, And as we connect and start working together, that's when, it just opens up, because again, I like for things to be organic, because
Mm,
that's when it goes to where a need is. Um, so that's just been my experience thus far. Thus far. This is going to be an interesting year though,
tell
because
me.
remember I said this is my year of first. so I,
Right.
so I am going to do a lot of things, differently to see, you know, what comes of it.
So tell me what it is that you want to do differently. Is it from the business aspect? Because well, the initial question was how do you feel about those shifts? Like I understand you saying that you do those things. Like you can do that. But do you enjoy doing that all the time?
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
because it's how can I put it? Because I see the differences in them. I see the aha moments. The I see the results, like especially when someone that you may have worked with a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, come across your DM or a Christmas card or what have you, and it's like, and they remind you of something, like I got a
Mm,
message, like, remember I said I wanted this type of business and I wanted to buy a home here, da, 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 da. Here's the picture of it. Here's where we're living now. Like,
yes.
so for me, that's where I'm like, wow, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's so satisfying. That's so satisfying for someone to reach back and say, I remember when I was working with you. I remember when, I was doing workshops with you. I was doing this with you, and we worked out my life plan, and we worked out, you know,
Mm-hmm.
our kids, who the families that I worked with, who kids were in special ed and they're not in special ed anymore, you know, um things. So yeah, I get a lot of satisfaction out of it, and I don't, how can I put it? I guess, yeah, just a resounding yes.
Okay. Great. Because based off then again, because like I said, this encouraging card, which is what it kept coming back, and it was like I don't know where
Mm,
to start, but that's where they may be feeling. But then now that seems to come back to what you were talking about the full circle earlier of saying I remember where I started, and with the coaching and the encouragement that I received from you, here I am,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
now.
yeah.
With that. So it's interesting. Arnitha, do you know what the meaning of your name is?
I do not. I've looked it up a few times. I do not. I I only know that there is a village. There is a village in Greece named Arnitha,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in the Isle of Rhodes. So, and it's somewhere in the Isle of Rhodes. And I remember when I looked it up, um, in the center of the village is like a part of the pulpit of a church that I hope I don't get it wrong. I don't know if it was John the Baptist, or one of the apostles used to actually preach at. And I'm not going to botch up the full name of the church. It's something, 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 but it has the name Irene in it. And my mother's name was Irene.
Mm.
And so I remember when I looked that up. That's like the most I found about Arnitha. It even when I look it up, the origin, I get different information. I get different information.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So what's interesting is that it comes up, it says the secret meaning Arnitha. It says the true meaning of Arnitha cannot be described with just a few words. And what that said and resonated with follows up with basically what you were talking about yourself. It's not a I'm just a coach or I'm a consultant or I'm an education person, tech person. Like there are more words that describe who you are. And that's literally what your name means, is talking about that there's more than just a few words to describe you. And it says your name is your destiny, heart's desire, and personality. It's like you're all three of those things. Your name
Wow.
is your destiny, heart's desire, and personality. When people hear the name Arnitha, they perceive you as someone who is sympathetic, compassionate, and generous. So you have like this whole thing that is not like, for me, my name means happy. It's kind of like,
Hmm.
it's a one word kind of thing. But
Hmm.
what you are encompassing and what you have is all of that. And that's why I think it suits what you were talking about, what you were doing in sense of not just one thing, but rather you, basically you meet people where they are
Yeah.
and
That's
connecting with them. So that's so
that's what I
you are,
say in my bio, I think.
of course you do. Remember, y'all, I don't read these things.
I
Of
think
course
that's
you
what I
do.
said in my bio.
Is it?
I
I
think
mean,
so. It's like I gotta go look it up too. But I'm like, that's not, I wrote that in a bio somewhere. I bet you. I gotta check my own website.
well,
Wow. That is
it's
that's really eye opening for me.
yeah.
That's that's deep.
Well, it's the S as we're talking about living smart is to see yourself and awaken with that, and that's one of the things that I tell people about looking up their name, because so much of what you embody is in the meaning of your names. When people speak that, what are they speaking? And now when they're speaking Arnitha, it's like this whole your destiny, heart, desire, and personality, which okay. The other message was is that that's how you are connecting with your clients, is through the heart's desire, because that also correlates with what you're saying is like, what do you really want to do? What really is your heart's desire?
Yes.
And who better to help guide them, drive them, teach them, nourish them, but someone that embodies, lives out, whose namesake is talking about your heart's desire. So it sounds like you're definitely operating in your gifts of how you were named and how you're connecting with people
Wow.
and encouraging. Like I said, keep coming back to that final word of encouragement. And it's interesting too, because now that I'm looking at how it's laid out, that these are all different areas. Talking about prosperity, talking about childhood, and the nourishment of areas that you like. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, Arnita.
That's I'm like that's
Be encouraged, because yeah, encourage. See, that's your word. Evident encouragement, encourage. But yeah,
um,
well, it has
it's so
been.
funny. It's so funny because I don't describe myself in none of those ways. It's interesting.
Well,
But
evidently, that's the message that as you're talking about these new things, see, there's another first
yeah.
for you, right? Of
Yeah.
how you can embody and explain yourself. Because as you're going to go on now doing all these different things and all these different messages, and
Mhm.
okay. All right. So then an action item that I was, message I received is to check your bios
Mhm.
and see, do they say what it is that you want them to say
Yeah.
today, for where you're
Yeah.
at today and for where you're going.
Yeah.
Just checking in
Indeed.
on those. Yeah.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
Arnitha,
Wow.
it has been awesome having you as a guest on the show, and I know we will definitely
You.
connect again to
Thank you. This was
today. And thank you.
enlightening.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for those that have participated with us live. Because just because we don't get comments doesn't mean that people are not watching. I learned that a long time ago.
Oh,
And those that will watch on the replay that made this show have met you right where you're at. Thank you for co creating with us. Thank you, Arnitha, for co creating with me.
thank
And
you.
just hold on to the outro here. And thank you, everyone, for watching All Intuitive Conversation.
Thank you.